My name is Officer Daniel Carter, and I never expected to die like this. I had faced danger before. I had been in countless situations where my life was on the line. High-speed chases, armed standoffs, split-second decisions where one wrong move could mean the difference between going home to my family or never seeing them again. But that night felt like any other, until it wasn't. We got the call just after midnight. Armed robbery. Suspect fleeing on foot. I remember the way the radio crackled, the tension in my partner's voice as he relayed our position. My heart was steady, my hands sure. This was what I had trained for, what I had done 100 times before. I spotted him, a shadow cutting through the dimly lit alley, breath rising in white puffs in the cold night air. I shouted for him to stop. He didn't. I ran. Footsteps pounded against the pavement, adrenaline surging through me. My mind was focused, calculating. Every turn, every movement. I could feel the chase narrowing, the gap between us closing. Then he spun around. I saw the gun too late. A flash, a deafening crack, and then... nothing. I felt it before I understood what had happened. A searing heat in my chest, like fire spreading under my skin. My legs gave out, my body crumpling to the ground. The world tilted, the cold of the pavement pressing against me as I lay there, unable to move. I could hear my partner shouting, my name over and over again. His hands pressing against me, trying to stop the bleeding. I tried to speak, to tell him I was okay, but no sound came. My lips wouldn't move. A strange silence settled around me, muting the world, pulling me away from it. My vision blurred, then darkened. And then, just like that, I was gone. But I wasn't, because I was still there. I could see, I could hear, but I wasn't in my body anymore. I was above it. I looked down and saw myself, my own body lying motionless in that alley. My partner desperately trying to keep me alive, his hands slick with my blood. The flashing red and blue lights painted streaks across the brick walls. I should have panicked. I should have felt afraid. But I didn't. Because I was not alone. Something was pulling me away, a force. Not hands, not a presence I could see, but something invisible and powerful. It was like a current, carrying me upward, away from the chaos, away from the sirens and the shouting and the city I had known all my life. And then everything changed. At first, there was nothing, just an endless void, stretching in every direction, vast and unknowable. But it wasn't cold, it wasn't frightening, it was peaceful. Then, in the distance, I saw it, a light. It wasn't like anything I had ever seen before. It wasn't the glow of the sun or the glare of headlights. It was something alive. It pulsed, beckoning me forward, and I felt drawn to it as though every part of me had been waiting for this moment, though I never knew it. I drifted toward it, weightless, effortless. And then the memories came. Flashes of my life, every moment I had ever lived, like a film playing at impossible speed. I saw myself as a child, riding my bike down the street, the wind in my hair. My first day on the force, the crisp uniform, the pride in my father's eyes. The day I proposed to my wife, the trembling in my hands, the way she laughed through her tears. Then the other moments. The ones I had buried, the mistakes, the regrets, the choices I wished I could undo. The times I was too quick to anger. The words I should have said. The kindness I should have given. It was all there, all of it, not as memories, but as truth. Because in that moment, I didn't just see them, I felt them, every joy, every pain, every decision I had made, not just from my own perspective, but from the eyes of those I had affected. I felt the disappointment in my father when I let my temper get the best of me. I felt the loneliness of my wife on the nights I worked too late, when she needed me and I wasn't there. I felt the fear of the suspects I had chased, the ones who were guilty and the ones who weren't. And I realized something terrifying. Every action, every choice, every word, it all mattered, more than I had ever understood. The light grew closer, surrounding me, filling me with something I could only describe as knowing. I wasn't afraid, but I wasn't in control either, because someone was waiting for me. I couldn't see them, not yet, but I felt them, a presence, not just watching, judging, and then, without words, without sound, without even form, it spoke. "Daniel, we need to talk." I felt it before I understood it. A presence, not like a person standing beside me, not even like an angel from the stories I had heard as a child. This was something more, something vast, something ancient. It wasn't just looking at me, it was inside me. It knew me in a way I had never been known before. And then it spoke. But it didn't use words, not in the way we understand them. It wasn't a voice that entered my ears. It was something deeper, something that spoke inside me. "Daniel, we need to talk." I felt it like a shockwave, a ripple through every part of my being. There was no sound, but I understood. And I knew who was speaking to me. I had spent my life believing. I had prayed in my own way, even in moments of doubt. But nothing had prepared me for this. Nothing had made me truly understand what it meant to stand before something infinite. I wanted to respond, to ask where I was, what was happening, but I didn't need to, because it already knew. And then it showed me. Not with words, not with visions, with truth. My life was laid bare before me, not just moments, not just memories, but meaning. I saw myself as I had never seen myself before. Every choice, every decision, every moment that I had ever believed was small, insignificant, it was all here. And it was all connected. I had been a good man, or so I thought. I had protected people, risked my life to serve my community. I had saved lives. But as I stood in this presence, I realized something that shook me to my core. I had misunderstood everything. Because it wasn't just about what I had done, it was about what I had failed to do. I felt the pain of every person I had hurt, intentionally or not. Every harsh word, every moment of indifference. The times I had been too quick to anger, too slow to forgive. I had always thought that as long as I was good, as long as I did my job, as long as I lived by a code, I would be okay. But I had never really understood how much my actions rippled outward. The way a single moment of kindness or cruelty could change the course of someone's life. The way a choice I made in seconds could alter the course of eternity. You have done good, but you have also misunderstood. The voice, no, the presence, was neither harsh nor angry. There was no fire, no brimstone, no condemnation. But there was something more powerful. Truth. And truth, when fully seen, is more terrifying than any punishment. Because I could not escape it. There were no justifications, no excuses. I couldn't say. I didn't know. Because now, I did. Then everything shifted. I wasn't just seeing my own life anymore. I was seeing something else, something I wasn't supposed to see. I was being taken beyond what I could understand. Beyond what I had ever imagined. And what I saw changed everything. Because I saw death. Not just mine. I saw the way it truly worked. I saw people crossing over, some with ease, others with struggle, some who were greeted with light, love, warmth, others who weren't. But it wasn't punishment, it was something else. Something far more complex than I had ever been told. Death was not a doorway that led to one place or another. It was a process, a reckoning, a moment where nothing could be hidden. And then the truth, the one that shook me to my soul. We do not go where we are sent. We go where we belong, where we have shaped ourselves to be. Where our actions, our thoughts, our choices have made us fit. There is no deception here, no pleading, no second chances. only truth. And for the first time in my existence, I understood something I had never truly grasped before. It was never about judgment. It was about alignment. Had I lived in love, in kindness? Had I let my heart be open? Had I lifted people up? Had I truly seen them? Or had I shut myself off? Had I let my anger, my fear, my bitterness shape me into something that could not walk into the light because I was not ready to be in it? This was the moment of reckoning. And then I saw something I should not have seen. A place beyond death, a place I do not have the words for. Because it was not fire, not torment, not the hell I had been told about, but it was absence. Absence of light, absence of love, not because it was taken away, but because the souls there had rejected it. I felt them, lost, wandering, still clinging to the things they had held onto in life: anger, hate, selfishness, fear. They could not move forward, not because they were being punished, but because they refused to let go. And the realization hit me like lightning. We choose. We shape ourselves. Every day, every moment, we become who we are. And when death comes, when the veil is lifted, we do not stand before a judge who sends us to one place or another. We simply go where we belong. And that was the most terrifying thing of all. Because for some, the light is unbearable. Not because they are not welcome, but because they do not know how to step into it. I understood then. I had been sent here to learn this, to see it, to know, and to bring it back. But I still did not know one thing. Would I be allowed to return? And if I did, would I ever be the same? I was being pulled deeper, deeper into something I wasn't supposed to see. I could feel it, the shift in the very fabric of this place. It was as if I had been permitted to look behind a curtain that no living person was meant to peer through. I wasn't supposed to be here, and yet I was. And what I saw next terrified me. At first, it felt like nothingness, but the more I focused, the more I realized it wasn't empty at all. It was full of souls. But these were not like the ones I had seen before. These were different. Something was wrong. I had seen the souls who crossed with peace, their journey forward like a river flowing toward the sea. I had seen the ones who hesitated, weighed down by what they had left behind. But these were stuck, lost between worlds. And I understood something in that instant, something I wish I had never known. Not everyone moves forward, not because they are condemned, not because they are unwelcome, but because they refuse. They hold on to anger, to hatred, to power, to the idea that they were right and the world was wrong. I felt them, their emotions, their regret, their refusal to accept what had happened to them. Some were still clinging to their final moments, reliving them over and over again, unable to let go. Others were lost in their own darkness, unwilling to face themselves. And then I saw something that made my very soul tremble. One of them looked at me, I cannot describe how. These souls had no form, no eyes, no shape, but I felt it. The moment their attention turned toward me, my entire being froze. It was not curiosity, it was desperation. And then I heard it. A voice. "Help me!" The words didn't come from the air. They didn't come from sound. They came from inside me. I wanted to run, but I had no body to move. I wanted to close my eyes, but I had no eyes to shut. This soul was trapped, and it wanted me to take it with me. And then I understood something even more terrifying. Some of these souls had been here a very, very long time. Time didn't move here the way it did in the world of the living. There was no sun, no night, no passing of days. Some of these souls had been here so long they had forgotten they had ever lived. And still, they would not let go. Would I have ended up here? Would I have been one of them if I had made different choices? And then, Just as quickly as I had arrived, I was pulled away. I was not meant to see this. The force that had been guiding me yanked me back, away from the lost, away from the souls reaching toward me, away from the darkness that was not punishment, but self-created. And then the voice, the presence, spoke again. "Daniel, you are not meant to stay." I had been shown enough. I was not allowed to go any further, but now there was a decision, a choice. And it wasn't just mine to make. You can go forward or you can go back. The words were neither kind nor cruel. They simply were. I felt the weight of them settle over me like a shroud. Go forward, beyond this, beyond even this moment. The idea was both terrifying and alluring, because part of me knew if I stepped forward, I would finally understand everything. The questions I had carried my entire life, the mysteries I had chased, the truth of what existed beyond this moment, I would know. But if I did, I would never go back. I saw the faces of my family, my wife, my little girl. I thought of my partner, the one still in that alley, trying to hold my body together, praying for a miracle. And I realized something. I still had something left to do. If you return, you must tell them. I felt the weight of those words. You must tell them what you have learned. I wanted to ask, why me? Why show me this? Why send me back? But I already knew the answer, because people don't listen until it's too late. Because the world is full of souls who think they have time. Because the greatest lie we tell ourselves is that we are in control. I wanted to ask more. I wanted to understand more. But I felt it now, the pull. I was going back. And just before I was ripped from this place, just before I felt the crushing weight of reality return to me, I heard something else. A whisper, software almost like a sigh. Not everything can be told. And then I woke up. I gasped. The air flooded my lungs like fire, burning, searing, as though I had been drowning in something far beyond water and was suddenly thrust back into the world of breath. My body convulsed, jerking violently against the ground. A crushing weight pressed down on my chest. I felt hands, real, human hands, gripping me, shaking me, voices shouting, "Stay with me!" I coughed, every muscle in my body rebelling against existence, pain shooting through me like lightning. For a moment, I had no idea where I was. The weight of two realities crashed together, the memory of where I had been clashing violently with the now. My mind was still reeling from what I had seen, from what I had felt, from the sheer weight of the knowledge that I had just carried across the veil. I blinked, my vision still swimming in a haze of red and blue flashing lights. The ground beneath me was cold, wet. It smelled like blood and asphalt and sweat. I was back. My partner's face came into focus, his eyes wide with something between shock and relief. "Jesus, Danny, you..." His voice broke. "You were gone. You weren't breathing, man. No pulse. 7 minutes. I thought we lost you." 7 minutes. I had been dead for 7 minutes. But where I had been, it had felt like eternity. Everything came back in a rush. The tunnel, the light, the presence that had known me in ways I had never been known before. The souls, those who had crossed over and those who refused. The whisper, the warning, the truth I had been allowed to see but not fully understand. And the choice. I had been given a choice, and I had chosen to come back. But not without cost. The weight of what I had seen was still inside me, still heavy, still pressing against my very being in a way I couldn't explain. I was back in my body, but part of me was still there. I could feel it, the truth lingering inside me like an echo of something vast and eternal. I had been sent back. But for what? The paramedics surrounded me, their voices blending together, muffled and distant. Their words didn't matter. They didn't know. They couldn't. I was alive. but I wasn't the same. How could I be? The stretcher, the ambulance ride, the flashing lights overhead. My wife's face streaked with tears as she saw me wheeled through the hospital doors. The doctors calling it a miracle, saying they had no explanation, saying I shouldn't be here. I barely listened, because all I could think about was what I had been told. If you return, you must tell them. Tell them what? Everything? That wasn't possible. I could barely comprehend it myself. The days that followed were a blur, machines, tests, questions. My body was recovering, but my mind was not. Every time I closed my eyes, I was back there. Every time I tried to sleep, I heard the voices. Help me! The lost souls, the ones who had refused to let go, the ones who had been stuck. I wanted to forget. I wanted to believe it was just a dream, a hallucination, the ramblings of a dying mind. But I couldn't, because it was real. More real than anything I had ever known. And I had been sent back for a reason. But what was I supposed to do with it? I tried to explain it once to the chaplain who came to visit me at the hospital. I danced around the details, afraid to sound crazy, afraid to say too much. But he just nodded, his expression unreadable. You're not the first, he said quietly. People come back different, with something they can't explain. I leaned forward. What am I supposed to do with it? He didn't answer right away. Then, after a long silence, he said, That's the question only you can answer. But I already knew. I had to speak. I had to tell them. Not everything, not the things I had been forbidden to share, but enough to shake them, enough to make them see. Because we are not ready. We live as though we have all the time in the world, as though the choices we make don't matter. We think of life as something we can control, something we can play with, waste, throw away. We don't realize the truth. Every word, every thought, every action, it follows us. And when the moment comes, when we stand in that place, when we face the truth of who we really are, there will be no pretending, no excuses, no hiding. We will go where we belong. I was sent back to tell you this. Death is not the end. It is not even what we think it is. You don't just cross over and disappear. You don't get a free pass because you lived a decent life. Everything is accounted for. Not by punishment, not by judgment, by truth. The truth of who you are, the truth of what you have become, the truth of where your soul belongs. And that is the most terrifying thing of all. Because if you don't prepare for that truth now, if you don't open your heart, if you don't start to see the weight of your choices, then when the moment comes, you might not be able to move forward. And I promise you this, there is nothing more terrifying than being stuck. I came back to tell you this, but the rest, the things I cannot say, the things I was warned must remain unknown. Some truths are too great. Some knowledge is too dangerous. Some things once spoken can never be forgotten. And so I leave you with this. Live well, choose wisely, love deeply, because one day, sooner than you think, you will stand where I stood, and in that moment you will see everything. The question is, will you be ready?